Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in to my channel where I talk about stocks, the stock market, and investing. I post videos daily, so if this sounds like something you want to get more of, feel free to subscribe down below. Alright, in today's video, I'm going to answer the question if Skillz stock is a buy. You're going to get the answer to that before the end of the video. I'm going to use my simplified 6-step framework for analysis, so let's get right into it. The first step in my framework is the customer value. Skillz is a unique gaming company, mobile gaming company, that allows users, gamers, to wager or bet on the games played against each other. Of course, when you're betting on the games and you stand to win a prize, a monetary prize, the games are going to be more interesting. And so that's attracting users to Skillz. Revenue has grown from 51 million in 2017 to 384 million in 2021. Unit economics is the next step in my framework, and Skillz outsources the development of the games on the platform. So it doesn't pay for the games up front. Rather, it promises developers a percentage of the revenue those games generate. So if the games they develop are not successful, Skillz does not pay for them. Still, despite that, it's generating massive losses on the bottom line due to heavy investments in customer acquisition and engagement. Skillz operating loss increased from 25 million in 2019 to 287 million in 2021. The next step in my framework is the total addressable market, and according to Skillz management, the company is targeting the $92 billion mobile gaming market. Let's also consider competition, and because Skillz's games are based on skill, it's not regulated like a gambling company, which allows it broad market access, which is not like other gambling companies, other mobile sportsbook companies. I can think of right off the top of my head DraftKings, which is a mobile sports betting company, and iGaming company. They need to apply for a license in each state in order to gain access to operate in that state. But before they could even do that, that state needs to legalize online gaming, either sports betting or iGaming. Skillz can bypass that for the most part because its games are based on skill, and so it's not gambling per se. That said, there is still heavy competition from other gaming apps that are offering deposit bonuses. This is the gambling apps that it still competes with in the states that they are legal. They offer heavy deposit bonuses, reload bonuses, and they're all investing aggressively in customer acquisition on social media and other channels. So competition is fierce in this industry. The next step in my framework is valuation, and it's one of the more important steps in the framework. And according to Skillz' price to sales ratio, I cannot use price to earnings because the company's not profitable on the bottom line. I cannot use price to free cash flow because the company's not generating positive free cash flows. So I have to use price to sales ratio, and its price to sales ratio is 1.22. And even though it's relatively inexpensive looking at its historical price range, you could see here it traded all the way above $40, a price to sales above 40 in the early months of 2021, and now it's down all the way to 1.2. The stock price itself is down more than 90%, but even considering that, I cannot say the stock is cheap because there is no earnings, there are no free cash flow, the company's sales are declining, and I'm going to show you a little bit later in the step on risk why it's difficult to measure the company with the sales, because its sales are hard to determine how much of those sales are a result of sales and marketing spending. So the stock is not cheap, but let's look on the next slide to get a closer understanding of why, even though it's trading at 1.2 where it used to be over 40, why that still doesn't mean that it's cheap. The final step in my framework are risks. And for Skillz, like I talked about in the previous slide and a couple of slides earlier about the heavy investments in sales and marketing, the risk here is that how many of its users can it retain organically with all of that heavy investment in sales and marketing, in promotions, in customer engagement spending, in all of those activities that encourages customers to join and to stay active. Without all of those investments, how many customers will it have? How much will sales be? Already in its most recent quarter, as management tried to reduce some of that spending, they experienced a significant slowdown in user growth. So it's already having a negative effect, and it's only been roughly 1 or 2 quarters that management has started to bring down some of those sales and marketing spending. So that's a major risk there because of the uncertainty. And secondly, the regulatory risk from its position in the gray area between gambling and gaming for fun. Right now, Skillz is getting access to all these states as just a gaming company, not a gambling company. But people are betting on the outcome of games. So they're placing a wager, and the winner of the game gets the money. So some people would say that it is close to gambling. So there's a bit of a gray area that it's been operating in between. There's a risk it would be regulated more closely like a gambling company in the near term. That remains to be seen, but it's just a risk for investors to keep an eye out for. All right, finally, after looking at all of the steps in my framework, let's look at the grade I gave Skillz on each step. For customer value, I gave it a B. It's inherently more interesting to play games that you have a tangible benefit for winning the game. It makes it more interesting. So I gave them a B in that regard. For unit economics, I gave them a C minus. They're not spending money to develop the games. Even although they're saving money from that expense, they're still losing a lot of money on the bottom line. They've just haven't figured out how to operate this business efficiently to generate at least stable, not growing operating losses. For that reason, I gave it a C minus. Total addressable market just under $100 billion. I gave it a B minus. It's bigger than some industries, although I wouldn't give it the, for to get an A in the total addressable market, I would need to see at least a 500 billion, roughly 500 billion total addressable market, and Skillz is not there with gaming. Competition, I gave Skillz a C because the industry is fiercely competitive. The cost per acquisition for getting people to download your gaming app has been rising significantly in recent years. Additionally, other gaming companies like DraftKings, FanDuel, and others are spending aggressively to get customers to sign up and engage. And so there's lots of deposit bonuses going around, lots of reload bonuses going around. It's difficult to attract and retain customers in this industry. For that reason, I gave it a C there. Risks, I also gave it a C because of the heavy investments in sales and marketing, and when they eventually reduce those investments, how many of those customers will remain? What are its actual customer totals, the organic levels, and what are its actual revenues when we reduce all of that extra sales and marketing investment? And finally, valuation, I gave it a C because it's losing so much money on the bottom line, losing negative free cash flow, and the price to sales, yes, it's relatively low compared to its history, but at the same time, I need to put an asterisk around those sales figures because they're so heavily inflated with the sales and marketing spending. And so for that reason, I gave it a C in valuation. The final step in my framework is the verdict, and Skillz stock is not a buy. Not a buy. Massive losses on the bottom line. Sales are heavily supported by marketing investments. Promotionary activity, competition is fierce. The total addressable market is not that large. For all of those reasons, I would caution investors before buying Skillz. I would at least wait a few more quarters to see how management addresses this heavy investment in sales and marketing and what levels of customers they retain and how revenue responds after the spending on sales and marketing reduces. All right, so that's all I've got for Skillz today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you liked what you saw, please subscribe down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with the Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beat the market by more than 250%. Go to fool.com/Parkev to get your 10 stock picks now.